I spoke to a single father recently, and based on our discussion, there were some key points that I'd like to share with you guys about why he believes single fathers and men shouldn't date anymore. Now, bear in mind that being a single father is very difficult and not something that's easy to do as a man who simultaneously has to be on his grind to provide a better future for his kids and himself. Single mammies tend to be able to get random men to help them out along their journey, or if they're lucky enough to land a step-dummy, they can offset a lot of the responsibilities off their hands for however long they are together. So men don't have it as easy regarding responsibility as women do, because even if a man gets a stepmom for his kid, she will not assume full responsibility or financial obligation for his kid. That's just typically how it is for a single dad. Although the kids are better off in a household with a single dad than a single mom, statistically, it takes a lot of sacrifice and work because he'll have to take on the majority of the responsibility. Single mammies can offload their nappy-head kids to their mothers, aunties, uncles, cousins, daycare centers, and sometimes friends if they cannot work and take care of the kids at the same time. Men who know that doing stuff like that puts the child at risk of getting touched on or being around bad company probably won't have many of those options available to them, so it's very difficult for a single dad, especially when the child is young. When the kid reaches adolescence, it will be a bit easier to manage due to the kid having better options like extra classes, extracurricular activities, club activities, staying home alone without burning down the house, and so on. So I'm explaining how difficult it is to be a single dad because if any of you guys watching this video plan on becoming a single father through surrogacy or the mom hands off the child to you, I want you to know what you're getting yourself into. With that said, it is better to raise your children by yourselves than with an unagreeable co-parent or having the single mammy raise your kids, especially if you have a young daughter. I've seen mothers with their teenage girls get a step-dummy to marry and support them, and while the mothers were away, the step-dummies were beating up the teenage daughter's cookie. And the funny part is many of the men didn't go to prison or anything, so take that into account when you're going into these women's cookie roski, because nowadays it is more common for another man or multiple men to raise your kids than you raising them all the way to age 18. It's an uncomfortable truth, but you can't get to pick or decide the man that your co-parent chooses and tell him how to raise your kids, so keep that in mind if you plan to have kids. There's no certainty in 2023 that biological fathers will be in their kids' lives until they are adults with the trend of breaking up the family and interference from the devouring mother. So make sure you think these things through before you decide to have kids with modern XXs, because most women will not hand over the kids to you and go their separate way. They would rather destroy your and the kids' lives than let you have sole custody. This happens every day in America and in many Western countries, so you have to think long and hard if you want kids and how you want them, because most mothers do not want the biological father to be a part of the kids' lives. What they want is child support and free reign to control and mold the child into their retirement plan or whatever sick ideologies they have. With that said, if you are a man that has kids, try your best to be in the kids' lives, especially when they are young, but when they are in adolescence, if they don't want you to be a part of their lives or they take you for granted, wash your hands and keep it moving. I know it's hard, but kids aren't stupid. They know right from wrong, even if the mother has poisoned them against you. So once they cross the line of disrespecting you as a father, tell them it's over between both of you and disown their ungrateful butt. That's how I look at it, because you owe them nothing if they decide to pick sides and throw you up under the bus. You can always make another kid if the one you have doesn't respect you or want to be a part of your life. Again, kids aren't dumb, they know right from wrong, so if they choose to be your ops, cut them out of your life and never look back or regret your decision, no matter how painful it might be. You can't control how people treat you, you can control how you choose to react. With that out of the way, let's talk about what the single dad told me about dating modern XXs, because maybe today's message will be able to save one hope strategist. So I met up with a friend of mine who is the single father of 2 kids, and we were talking about a bunch of stuff until the conversation switched over to talking about dating and relationships. So he told me that one thing he decided that he wouldn't do was to get another partner while he was still raising his kids, because he didn't want to set the example that it's normal for people to constantly be in and out of relationships, as he believed that wasn't healthy for kids to see. Because in the real world, both men and women who have kids and lost their initial families for whatever reason tend to try to get back into relationships, and they end up having to cycle through multiple partners and expose their kids to multiple new daddies and mammies. He said that's not healthy for kids, and you never know what these new people will try and do, so the best decision he could think of was to focus on raising his kids and sacrificing his love life. If you look at what he said, he was spot on, and I believe this is what people should be doing instead of choosing to date multiple people and exposing their kids to think that relationships aren't supposed to be stable. Many men here have watched primarily their single mammies and also their fathers bring multiple people to their house to have bedroom fun or introduce those people as a part of the family, only for it to come crumbling down and they never see that person again. That's not healthy for kids to see, and I believe the time and fun should go directly to the kids instead of other people who are just straight up leeches and parasites most of the time. What's worse than this is when two families merge and suddenly your kids have to live with your partner's kids. Let's not go down the rabbit hole of the things that go down when you're not around. Sometimes these kids end up being physical with each other, and sometimes cheeks get clapped. It's not what you guys want to hear, but I've known people who it happened right under their noses and they didn't know anything. So if you want to avoid putting your kids at risk, then stop dating women and focus on your damn kids. So the conversation shifted to the current dating market, and he was surprised at how bad things were since he wasn't in the game for the past 7 years. He explained that he gets his fix with a pocket cookie that he bought, so he really didn't need to go out of his way to find a partner to have bedroom fun with. If you don't know what a pocket cookie is because I'm censoring my words, it's a fake peace league you can buy cheaply. Now, I've never used one, but I have been thinking about getting one recently because it's way cheaper than constantly paying to temporarily access the real thing and being forced to use a rubber. So he was saying that for men who are not dating right now for whatever reason and still have that itch that they need to scratch, investing in one of those toys can be a good investment while focusing on self-improvement. And I agree because most men are distracted by XXs since they know their hands can't come close to replicating a real thing. While the toy still won't be as good, I heard it can come close, so that may be an excellent option for many men who are going their own way or monk mode like myself. After convincing me to buy one of those toys, I asked him why he thought men don't date women as they did back in the day anymore from his perspective, and this was what he had to say. He said that when you look at relationships between men and women, it all centers around men having to sacrifice and give up large chunks of their lives to be with the woman they want. Even though a lot of men put themselves in relationships that were bound to fail from the get-go because they were only interested in the woman based on their physical attraction instead of all the other qualities that men have to find through eliminating red flags, what they are getting in the end is straight up not worth the effort or trouble anymore. The fact that women nowadays always want to have things their way, don't want to sacrifice anything significant, including their happiness, and could care less about what men want while initiating the majority of the breakups of the family, and by doing so, mess up the family financially, that alone is enough to scare any man away from committing or trying to lock down a partner. In the end, even if you get the woman, there's no guarantee that you'll keep her or prevent her from destroying the family and the kid's life, so it makes sense that men would stop trying because no matter what they do or try, they have zero control or power to make their relationship successful. That's a summary of what he said because I don't remember everything, but from his perspective, if men are going to fail highly likely or get stuck in a bad relationship, then why even try? And I agree because all of us know that relationships don't last anymore, and many men put up with BS and bad attitudes because they want to keep their woman around even though it's clear that the relationship should have been over long ago. So in my opinion, I don't really see the sense of trying to date seriously even if you take out the incentives for women to leave and the laws punishing men because the relationship will end eventually or it's going to be a miserable experience after the disrespect starts showing up. Many men will agree that there's no point in starting a home that they will have to tear down and rebuild constantly, so the best thing to do is just abandon dating and save themselves the money, energy, attention, and time that they would have to waste to get something that many men have gotten in the past for very little. But the takeaway of this convo that I had with my friend was that sometimes not making a decision to date is the best decision you can make as a man. Sometimes the best deal for men is not to make any decision to date. Based on my friend's life, I think he would have been in a worse situation as a single dad had he chosen to date, so I think many more of you can benefit by not dating. Click the video on the screen to see why so many men are running away from relationships and choosing to live their lives for themselves.